Alrighty, folks. What is up? Welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is VooDoo Val, and we are about to do challenge number 8 for this round of challenges, and I'm super excited about it. I see all of my friends in the live chat. Hello to Sean and Jan and Stony, Frank, Anki, Tim. It's good to see everybody. Hi, Oliver. It's good to see you. Monica, welcome in. Thank you all for joining me, and thank you all if you are in the future watching the replay, checking us out on Behance or the Adobe Live YouTube. Today's pretty exciting. So we are going to be creating some pretty nifty posters. We've been doing a lot of posters this week in all different styles, all different ways, and this one is probably my favorite. If you would like to join in with me today, please check out the description below and snag the link to the starter file where you can download all of the resources and things that I am working with today. And your starter file is going to look a little something like this. So challenge number 8, using shapes, fonts, and snapping guides to create a 60s inspired poster with bold colors and chunky design elements. I would say it's very 60s oriented. It also has a little bit of the flair that kind of continued on through the 70s and 80s, but just big, wild, kind of psychedelic shapes, cool fonts, big punchy design elements and things like that. And it is very, very fun, very cool looking, but also pretty easy to do, I think. So I'm excited to kind of dive into it. One of the things that I want to share with you is we are going to be using a font today called Ekman Psych. It is a free font that you can use from Adobe Fonts, and I'm going to be using it today. I'm going to throw a link into the live chat for all of you folks today, and I will also be posting it in the Discord later on, which you should join, because if you do this challenge with me today, you can post it. I can take a look in the Discord later, which you guys have been kind of blowing it out of the water, really, with all of these challenge entries. And we'll also be taking a look at them tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, during the challenge slot, we'll have Community Day, where I will pull up the Discord and take a look on stream at all of the wonderful things you've made. So, how are we going to be creating our poster today? Well, we're going to start with text, and then we're going to dive into using the pen tool and kind of messing with creating these interesting shapes here. So let's get into it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to snag my number 8 because I want to incorporate my number 8 into my poster today. I'll hide my info, and I'm also going to hide the background just because I'd like to work with a clean slate. So I will Control-Shift-In or Command-Shift-In if you're working on a Mac, just to create a new layer right quick. And I'm going to snag my paint bucket tool, make sure I have a white color selected, and I'm just going to paint bucket that in so we have a nice clean canvas. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a title to the top of my poster. So the first thing, let's see, I'm going to snag just kind of on top of my 8 layer here. I'm going to hit T on my keyboard so that I can access my type tool. And I'm just going to tap because it will add some text in here, and I will scrub down and make this text black so that it is visible. I'm already selected on Ekman Psych, and there are a few other font weights, type weights and things here for you to use. And the large font weight for Ekman Psych is a little odd because I feel like the large font weight is actually a little bit smaller. So I'm going to keep it on small. And one of the things that's kind of cool about this font is it's such like an organic style that I think this is one of those pieces where if you would like to make this thicker, adding a stroke actually does not ruin the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the quality of the font. So if you want your text using this font to be even chunkier, I feel like you can just double click your layer here and add a stroke. And I think that it still looks pretty darn cool, even with the stroke on it. Because it is, like I said, it's very chunky, it's very bubbly, and so throwing that stroke on there, if you want it thicker, does not actually ruin the ruin the font to me. So if you want it even bigger, you can add that. But what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and in caps here, I'm going to write Adobe Live because I want Adobe Live to be at the top here. I'm going to remove this that space there and just let it all be together. And I'm going to create kind of an arcing title here at the top of the page. And the way I'm going to do that is I will actually enlarge this a little bit. I'd like for the font itself to kind of hang off the edges of my canvas. And I'm going to come up here to the top here next to the color of your font. You can access this panel that will add a lot of really cool effects, like warped text effects here. So I'm just going to click that. And I'm going to put it onto the style arc lower. And now you could do an arc upper or just like a regular arc here if you want, and you'll be able to bend it the way that you want. But if we do the arc, let's go ahead and hit OK and bring this down so you can see it. It kind of arcs the whole thing. The reason why I prefer to do the arc lower is because, or the arc upper, depending on where you want to put your title, is because it still leaves it straight across at the bottom, and I like that vibe. So with that, I'm going to kind of bring this up here to the top. I'll make it a little bit larger, and I'm going to come in and to our properties panel, which you can access if you don't see it right off the bat from window and go down to properties. I'm going to access this, and I'm going to start kind of creating a kind of a closer together vibe. If I just go ahead and click and drag here, I can bring my characters closer together, which I like. I like having them touch on the edges there. And then I can transform this and kind of make it even larger, kind of make it reach the top of our canvas here, which I like the look of. Also, I want to be very transparent with today's challenge. We're going to be doing a lot of taboo things to text and type today. There are going to be maybe a lot of type enthusiasts in the chat who are going to roll their eyes and cringe at all of the warping and craziness we're going to do. But you know what? You have my full permission today, folks, to break all of the type rules, all of the things that you're not supposed to do with text, we are going to do today, let me tell you. So there we go. We have our Adobe Live text. We could even bring this in a little further, maybe like a 100, like so, just so that everything is kind of touching. I guess there's some that isn't touching there. We could try like 110. I think that's cool. Yeah, because then we got this touch going on here with the D and the O. I like it. And I will transform this and make this even larger. Doesn't matter to me what the actual font size is, because I just need it to reach the edges of the canvas. And I feel like I kind of lose that E a little bit if I want this all to be up towards the top. So I might go ahead and allow some of these little empty spaces to be under here. I think that's fine for me. I'm not worried about it. I think that looks good. So we'll hit enter, and that is going to be at the top of my page, my little psychedelic Adobe Live. And then I'm going to grab my shape tool. I'm going to grab my ellipse tool here, and I'm just going to drag out kind of an oval shape because I would like to create a kind of a line at the bottom that evens out everything. And this is what I mean by that. So if I come into my properties, I'm going to turn the fill on no fill. So there's no fill at all. And I'm going to turn the stroke to black. And I'm going to make sure that this stroke, if I come down under the pixel width for my stroke, make sure that it is outside. And then I'm going to kind of transform this and alter it a little bit. So let's go ahead and kind of bring this up. I want to match this with the edge of my my text here a little bit. Let's see if we can bump it up with my... Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And you might need to transform and alter it just slightly in order to get the right vibe that you're going for, but that works for me. If I hit enter, I think that kind of goes for what I'm going for here. I just want it to be, oops. I just want it to have like this nice clean edge here. And if I take my Adobe Live text and my ellipse that I just created, I can right click with both of those selected and convert it to Smart Object. And then on our background layer, our white background layer here, if I hit B on my keyboard and come in with a brush, you can see that this is its own separate like shape that is like all one piece, just a nice black outline for our text. And I like that. That's going to work for me totally. So we've got our title up at the top, and now we're going to start building out some interesting sort of swooped shapes that should be pretty fun to add to our piece here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to actually use the curvature pen tool. And I've said many times, the curvature pen tool is your friend for sure. And then I like to use the curvature pen tool to get nice arcing swoops and curves with my vector shapes, and then alter it with the regular pen tool so that I can add pointed corners and things if that's what I want later on. So I'll grab the pen tool, and what I'm going to do is come in here, and I'm just going to click here, and I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click here and here. And I'm going to bring this around to be my shape. Now this does not look like, you know, it's adhering to the shapes that are around it, but if we come in now with the pen tool, the regular pen tool, I can come in and just start selecting these. So I'm just holding Control to select my pen tool there, and I can start to alter these around. If I want to hold Alt, I can only alter one of my little arms here. I can come in and select another point here and then hold Alt and kind of curve that around, make it join and meet, kind of adhere to the curve of our title. We'll do the same thing over here. Just click that. I want to bring this guy out here and make that kind of flow with the edge of our 8, which I like. And then I want to bring this point in here a little bit closer so that it really flows with the shape of our number here. We can kind of bump this out, bring this down. And it takes a little bit of tweaking, but I think once you get really what you're going for, it starts to look pretty cool. So that looks good enough for me, kind of goes with the shape of our 8. I might want to bring this out just slightly and have that kind of curve around. Works for me. I like it. I like it, I like it, I like it. So that's going to work for me. There's one of our shapes. And now the next thing we're going to do is I'd like to have like a big swooping tail kind of come out here. So I'll do the same thing. And I suppose if you want, you can just do this with the regular pen tool. But my thing is, if you get to the point where you want to have like a more organic, smooth curve, and you're using the pen tool right off the bat, if you are not super comfortable using the pen tool, you might find that some of these swooping curves are a little difficult to make. And I think starting with the pen tool in that case is a better choice. Let's go ahead and kind of move this out like so. Just kind of bring that around. I like it. We can do the same thing with this guy right here. Actually, we can start from here. Let's grab this little arm, kind of bring that closer. Boom. I like it. I like it. It's looking good to me. So we've got our little tail. We could put another one right here. Let's go ahead and click in here. I think that looks good. Kind of start putting that there. Bring that in. And I want to curve this one as well. Let's go ahead and curve this one. Can actually bring this here. Oh, another thing that you might find really useful. Now, if you hold Alt or Control, excuse me, Control or Command, and you click a shape, and then you just start dragging, sometimes you might get this thing where it drags the entire shape. Make sure that as you're trying to like select and move something around, make sure you go ahead and tap that point first before you start altering it, because what might be happening is you've actually selected all of the points in your piece and not just the one that you're trying to work on, and sometimes that can get a little bit confusing, especially if you are a little new to the pen tool, or find that you have a little difficulty getting those smooth curves, make sure you are selected on just the point that you want to move if you're trying to move one by itself, because as you start moving around, if you move one big chunk of shape around and it's really not what you wanted to do, it can be easy to get a little frustrated with it, or maybe be like, what's going on? Why is this not moving in the way that I want it to? Take a deep breath and just make sure that the point that you would like to edit is highlighted blue and the rest are white, and then you'll be able to move that one point by itself. So I'm going to keep going around here and adding more shapes. I think I might actually duplicate this shape so I don't have to worry about there not being enough symmetry on the other side here. So I will go ahead and hit V on my keyboard to access my move tool, and I'll click this shape and then Control or Command J to duplicate it, and then Control or Command T to free transform, and I can right click and flip horizontal and then just drag this on over here until it evens out the way that I want. That looks pretty good to me. So now I know that that is symmetrical, but I don't want it to be perfectly symmetrical. I do want to have a little bit of variation, so I can click this. We'll hit P on my keyboard so that I can access my my pen tool, hold Control and select, and then I will click this guy again, making sure this one is highlighted where the others are not, and I can start to kind of move this around. So maybe I want to pull this up like so, so it kind of pulls out there, and then I can add another shape here. So let's go ahead and add, let's maybe add a point here, and we can add a point here if I want to, add another point there, and then here, and we'll kind of bring that down so that molds to the shape that we want. I might even want to bring this down a little bit like that, and then we'll come around and tap, and then we'll bring this out here. And we can come back and alter these as we see fit. Again, that's the issue that I was looking for right there. So I just tried to move that point, and I'm moving my whole shape. I'll let it go and Control Z, and then make sure I hold Control and click that single point so it's the only one highlighted, and then I can very easily come in and alter that. We'll do the same thing here, kind of bump that around. I'll hit V so that I can move easily. I think that looks cool. Some of these, though, it does take a little bit of noodling. But I think that's the fun, one of the fun parts of this is like really kind of getting these interesting organic shapes in here, and making it mold around the shape of our number. I think it's a good time. We can even pull that in a little bit like so if we want to. Don't want it to be too crazy. Also, this is one of those moments where you try your best not to be too... All right, just peeking in the chat, seeing what you folks are talking about. I always appreciate the mixture of design and Star Wars talk in the chat. Makes me happy. All right, so now we have our shapes. We have our title, which I think looks pretty cool. And we could also come in here if I want to, and I want to make sure that my number 8 is on top. And I can change my shapes to, let's change all of our shapes to black as well, just so that everything looks like it's all part of the same thing here. And I can grab my title and then hold Shift and click the bottommost layer I'd like to select, so I can select all of these shapes. And I can either right click and group from layers, or you can just say Control G. And I'll go ahead and say okay on this. So now I have a group and it's got all my shapes in it. And the next thing we're going to do is we're gonna spice this up. We're going to make this look super cool. So I am on my layer. I'm going to come in with my handy dandy noise brush, and I am going to select like a green. You can kind of use this number 8 as your color palette. I'm going to select a green, and just with my mouse, I'm just kind of painting in with a large brush here. I might grab some of this blue, maybe put some of that blue in back there. And then another really great way to add color into something like this is selecting colors that are opposites. So the opposite of blue is like a yellow. So we can select like a warm yellow tone, maybe grab a bright yellow in here and kind of put in some yellow, which I think looks really nice. So we can just kind of dab that in there. Get your Bob Ross on, just dab in some bright colors there. Have fun with it. There's no accidents or no no mistakes, just happy accidents. So we got that, and then over this group, I will make a new layer with Control Shift in or Command Shift in. I'm gonna turn that layer into a clipping mask so I can clip to all these shapes, and I'll select a dark color, like this darkish maroon color, and I'm gonna come in and I'm just gonna start dabbing in some color just like that, which I think looks pretty darn good. We might even select some of this light color here, throw that in there, grab some of this blue, maybe add some of this, kind of tap some of this blue in here, which I think looks cool. Maybe even some of this green could be fun. That's a little too bright. Maybe something from in here. Yeah, a little bit of that. Maybe put that down at the bottom because that'll look good in the bottom. Nice, nice. And just get a little crazy with it. Experiment, have a good time. So now we have, you know, some of our colors kind of dabbed in here, and we want to add some interesting things to our shapes. And this is when things get really, really crazy. This is when stuff we start to warp and bend type in ways you're really maybe not supposed to do it, but it looks cool for this style. So we are going to hit T on our keyboard to add some text. I'm just going to tap right in here, and I am going to add something from the chat, I think. I see Robert in the chat, so I'm going to type out, let's go, Robert. You're in the project now, Robert. You're part of the family now. You can never leave. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit larger, and I am going to transform this into a smart object, which is definitely an important part of this particular process. I'm going to turn it into a smart object, Control T. I'm going to come over here to this little swoop. We're going to make you swoop around, Robert, and I'm going to right click and say warp, and I'm going to start doing some things to this type that the Adobe font show would really hate. We're gonna, don't tell them I did this. Nobody tell them. This is our secret. No one can know. And my career is on the line here, folks, so I'm trusting you with this secret. Do not tell any of them. Don't tell Ari. Don't tell any of the Adobe Font Show folks that we did this today. So we're adding Robert's name in here, and it looks pretty cool. And one of the most important things about transforming this into a smart object first is, say I like that, and that's looking pretty good, and maybe I want to, maybe I want to add some color into this and I want to mess with it, but then later I want to come back and warp it just a little bit more. If it's a smart object, I can Control or Command T again and then right click warp, and it goes right back to the way that I warped it, which is really, really important if you want to edit that warp. So I'm happy with this. This is good for me. So what I'm going to do is I'll come down here and I am going to rasterize this. I will make that a clipping mask so it clips right into our shape here, and then I'm going to lock the transparency so I can paint directly in this. So when I snag my brush and maybe I want to grab like a light green color, I can start adding some crazy colors into this that makes it look super wicked, super cool. Maybe we want some more of this dark brown right here. I don't know. Maybe we want some of this yellow color. Maybe some of that bright yellow could look interesting here. And just start differentiating pieces of the puzzle. And you can just start kind of filling in your shapes with interesting type, interesting text, cool shapes and things, and build out your poster. Now I have created a Martha Stewart poster so that I can show all of you folks what it can look like when you're finished, and I'm going to drag that in. It's actually my Instagram story promo for this challenge, and I'm very proud of it. So this is what I created after I added in all of the different pieces and stuff to my poster previously, and I'm actually just gonna create a new layer and paint buckets some black in here so we can really take a look at it. This is what it can be, folks. This is what it can be. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff with this. I hope you've enjoyed this challenge. We are coming to the very end of our challenge. I can't wait to see what you folks post in the Discord for the challenge. And remember, tomorrow is Community Day, so if you would like for me to give you a verbal and visual shout out for the work, the hard work you've put in for these challenges, if you post it today or tomorrow before 9 a.m. Pacific time, there's a good chance that I can show it on the stream and give you some props for your work. It's been a blast, and I will see you folks tomorrow for Community Day. Thanks for joining me, everyone, and I'll see you next time.